So, hello Luisa, hello Alessandra, hello the other Greek students that I can say the
hello
name.
To everyone.
Good morning, buongiorno girls. So we are, as you know, we are here together in Thessaloniki in Greece, working on the GIS workshop on the case study. Just one more minute, Luisa and Alessandra, because they are sitting and it's too much noise. Just 1 second. So, is missing or he will come in the minute. So we are ready. I'm really sorry about this delay, but it's impossible to have time in real time in Greece. I'm here in 2 days, and I realized that. So it's even worse than Italy and Portugal. So it's like a comparative study. But we had invite you because we are working on the case studies. So we had start again to have an overview of the updated case studies. And we'll have another short-term mission, as you know, that will develop in Belgrade after this. You are not seeing me, but it's okay. And for that, I think it's so interesting, the opportunity that you can have to show us and to explain how was the experience of your STSM on the case study. So welcome by the Zoom link, and the stage is yours. Bye.
Hello, Ines. Hello, everyone. Dalit, I know, and all the others. I am Alessandra Como from the University of Salerno. For the people that I see that don't know me, so I do a little bit of a presentation. I'm also part of the program. We are based in Italy, in the south part of Italy, and we organized a STSMS just a little bit before yours. Now, this was involved Kritica, who will be also here soon. Probably she's already here, I hope. I'm not completely sure about that. And Luisa Perrotta, who is, you can see. And also Ahmed, who is not today because he's busy traveling, but of course he was part of this experience. Now, I just wanted to say a few things, and we prepared a little presentation, which I will do now, the sharing of the screen. Now, I think it is interesting that we all do an investigation of this complex process of the densification of middle-class mass housing, which we understood that is certainly a complex issue. It can be faced, can be seen and reread and interpreted on a variety of levels. So probably our point of view is slightly, for certain things can be close to yours or far from yours. But I think that altogether they will help to understand more about the process itself. Now, will be very interesting for us to know more about also yours when you will finish that. Afterwards, I'm sure there will be a possibility of seeing the results and also understanding how that can also go further. I do not only a small introduction, and I do the, just a second, this is a bit different from another program, so I had to understand where. Okay, share on the screen. I'm very sorry. No, it says that the host disabled the screen sharing, so I would need you to enable me to accept. that I can do that. Could you do this? Says that I am not allowed.
Yes, we are sharing the possibilities.
Now,
Try. Can you try now, please?
Yes, now I can.
Perfect.
Okay. Okay, thank you for this permission. Okay. Now okay, so as you can see, this is I don't know how to do this small. Do you see a clean screen, or do you see the screen? Okay, can you see this better now?
Yes, it's perfect.
Okay, great.
We are seeing the full screen. So
yes, okay, that's great. Please interrupt us when things do not work, because of course we do not realize. So I will do a short introduction. There will be Luisa Smeraiolo to talk, and then there will be Kritica. Though, Luisa, I am not completely sure that Kritica is already online, because I haven't seen.
Sorry, Kritica is coming. So okay. I don't know when she will be able to join, but she's coming.
Okay, okay. So I'll start. I'm sure that she will arrive soon. Okay. Okay, for the start, as I said, these are all of us, Kritica, Singhal, and Ahmed Benbernou. They came to Salerno, the university where we work. And they also worked and also Luisa Smeraiolo Perrotta, who is based in Salerno, worked on that. And so there are three parts of our investigation that will be shown here. Now, what was the goal? The goal of our meeting, or our STSM at the University of Salerno? We wanted to start what you are doing probably as well, but you will tell us in another moment. The aim was to analyze all these case studies and find and try to understand if there were common elements or differences. Some of the images that you see are now part of our condition, that is the condition of South Italy, with this very dense, as you can see, residential situation that really occupied during the 60s in this period of what is called the building boom in Italy. So after the Second War, occupying all the empty spots and transforming also the vegetation, the greenery, the hill and everything. It's a very complex situation that happened all over, and generally it's not only for Italy, but generally the massification along the countries is a complex issue. Now, we wanted to try to understand if we could find certain categories, certain issues that could be identified in order to view and in this way compare and find the differences that we can also call like patterns among the countries. And in a sense, if this was right, it was also possible, would have been also possible to regroup in a way, not only from the point of view of the countries, but for the point of view of the type of process or the type of categories that could help us to understand more this phenomenon. And more generally, we tried to understand if there could be a clear methodology on which we could face these. We understand that for now, all these case studies are a list of situations that, of course, each of them can be very interesting, a very interesting narrative, a story of the development of the massification, but what about the whole phenomenon? This attempt to look at a methodology also has another aim of another outcome, that is a possibility of communicate the investigation, and so find also some visualization. And our attempt was also to understand more how we could visualize, and this was done through the understanding of specific diagrams. Now, the very important goal is to start a research in a way. Besides the list of case studies, how can we consider, comment, and transform our study in a critical understanding of the phenomenon? We also understand that this has to be done transversally, so not only country by country, not only like period by period. Certain categories, they are like more clearly stated through the set of listing of these modules, these forms that we have, these templates that we have with all the case studies. But like a transversal investigation. The very goal would have been to understand more how the atlas that we want to build, we want to organize, could be done as a way to visualize these comparison differences, regrouping of case studies. And also, of course, the goal is also to create a bridge of among the groups. We have 3 groups. The working group 1, which is based, all aimed at the understanding of the case studies. The group 2 and the group 3 that are more with a look that is a bit more transversal. One with the policies, the group 3, and the other one to understand also some elements of investigation that can be common to the case studies. But is it possible to bridge what are the results of each group, one with each other? And this was also what we expect, what we hope that we can build together as a future atlas. In this sense, all the STSMs can help to give a certain aspect that can be useful for the future atlas. Now, this is just now my introduction. How did we do that? First of all, we wanted to try to use diagrams. The diagram is seen as a tool to deconstruct, I would say, the complexity of the phenomenon in certain specific categories. This is the important premises to what we did in our work. Another premises is that we used this important consideration that is in all the templates, that all the case studies could belong to one or also more of the 3 main massification processes that we see as a possibility of the development of the process. We have that, in fact, in the template as these 3 possibilities. One is the massification vertical. Of course, this repetition in the vertical dimension and the making of the massification, so vertically. Another one is horizontal. And then the third one, that is a bit more complex, but we understood specifically in certain countries, that is, we have seen in Italy, but also we understand that because we talk together, that is also common to Greece, is the repetition of elements as a progressive addition. Of course, this should be considered only in a very short, period of time. So when the repetition of elements happens in a quite close time, so that in a sense, the different buildings can be seen as a mass. Now, these three main massification processes are we see as the main ones, and so this is also the main category with which we saw the different conditions. Now I stop, and so I leave Luisa for work, and also who will also talk for Ahmed, who we know is busy in traveling, so could not join, and then Kritica, and then there will be just a small final small consideration. Okay, I leave Luisa then. Okay.
Okay, just to say that we did we worked together, but we did a different kind of study according to our previous attitude and kind of background of a kind of study. So Ahmed did statistics studies, Kritica, redrawings, urban patterns, and I did most part of interpretive diagrams. So Alessandra, if you can go in the next one, I'm show you what Ahmed did. That is mostly a statistics study. What I'm showing you is a part of this. As you can imagine, the topics are so many, so we can visualize time, promotion, and mainly numerically all the information that was in the template. If you can, in the next one, he also started to compare overlapping data, for example, the mean period of production in Europe of middle class mass housing, or the duration of the construction. And I would like to show you some consideration from his report about this short-term scientific mission, that the whole of Europe experienced a strong period of mass housing construction in the 60s and 60s, the vast majority of which was completed in the 70s. The duration of the building sites is between 5 and 10 years for more than 1 over 3 of the realizations. Nearly half of the productions are located on the periphery of the city. The public sector is the largest investor in the urban and real estate development. Nearly the 17% of mass housing production was intended for the middle classes. In the case studied that we received, the presence of middle class in the housing has only decreased by 10% at the present. What is changing now? The process of massification is a desired and planned process in almost the 80% of the cases. The notion of repetition is a very important aspect of the massification process, and its present is more than a third of the example that we received. And the note for sure is that the process of massification is not indicated in all the case studies, and this is like not just a negative part, but something that we need to improve to make more sense of our collection. And we should ask also if these case studies are really representative of the country. And this is what Ahmed wrote in his short-term scientific report. About my part, my first approach was to look at the case studies and start to redraw them in order to visualize the differences between them. And we decided to redraw section in which we can really see the impact of the sites, the number of the building on the ground, but we were not able to find the section for all the case studies. So considering that we wanted to have an overlooking of all the collection, we decided to translate diagrammatically the most important categories in order to have a common visualization. Can you go in the next one? Thank you. We used a grid of levels that indicated each case studies. We indicated each case studies with an acronym. The grid is representative just about the number of level. The other things is very diagrammatic things. The next one, we also used a diagrammatic form for each typologies, such as the tower, the slab, the block, and the other one that we found in the template. The next one, then we decided to make diagrammatically the massification thought according to the three main characteristics indicated in the template: repetition of elements, vertical growing, and horizontal growth. The next one, this is you can see the list of all the case studies. That is a very a big amount of case studies that we redraw with this idea of have this overlook about the massification process. The next one, for example, I put here the Italy example because looking country for country, for example, these are the 10 case studies from Italy. You can really look at the differences between case studies, how different they are, and if you have a representation of the national phenomenon of middle class mass housing or maybe not. And in the end, the next one, we decided to regroup really these case studies according to categories of classification and transversally the countries. So we have a group with the aspect of repetition, another group with the horizontal growing, and another one with the vertical. And the last one is this mixed, where you can find together, for example, repetition and vertical growing, and other kind of a combination between these different aspects of massification that we found. And this is part of diagrams to show really the complexity of the issue of the massification, and also how it's difficult also to try to explain it in a very simple way. So thank you. I don't know if Kritica okay, Kritica is here.
Yeah.
Okay, I leave you the presentation.
Hi. Can I change the slides, or Alexandra?
If you probably it is easier because they are the same. If you tell me when I have to go on the other one, because anyway I also join in the end. So
yeah, sure. Thanks first of all for giving a very nice introduction, and also sorry that I joined a little late. And thanks Luisa also for explaining Ahmed's part and your part. And so I will start talking a little bit about the redrawings of urban patterns, what Luisa already stated, which was my part in the during the STSM. And so my work is kind of an overlap of what Ahmed was doing and what Luisa was doing. And we kind of decided to mix the knowledge and then basically redraw the case studies. So we looked into around 100 case studies in total. And from the statistics that Ahmed produced, we could see, which of the case studies are in which category. So if this is vertical development or horizontal development or repetition, and which was also significant with the sections that Luisa was working on. So what I did was, first of all, the case comparison, the scale comparison, like you can see in this slide itself, from what is the kind of diversity we had throughout the case studies. And Alexandra, can you change to the next? Yes. So for example, the categories that the bigger group, the horizontal, vertical, and repetition. So from the statistics that Ahmed produced, and through looking into all the cases, we kind of selected certain cases which we categorize into horizontal development. And among those, to start with, I chose 6 case studies, and I tried to make them very diverse. So from different places from Austria to Israel to Portugal, Romania, just to keep a diversity from the national point of view as well. And also because we realize the kind of typologies which differ in these cases. So the next slide, please. Yeah, so what I did was to use the OpenStreetMaps, and from the OpenStreetMaps, you can already, see the urban configuration or the urban pattern. And I extracted the drawings from there and then kind of made a comparison with the sections that Luisa was producing. And as you can see, even if it was horizontal development mark, for example, the second case in Hungary, the it was also indicated in the template that it was a vertical growth. So even from the urban configuration, if you can see it is a horizontal development, it was very spread across if you see in the aerial image. But the researcher has also marked that it is a vertical growth. And these aspects we could see when we, put these things together. So from the drawing, from the aerial view, and from the sections all together in one place. Next slide, please. Yeah, these are the other set of examples. Yeah, and then we come to the vertical development. And the same goes with this. We chose 6 case studies from the vertical group or cluster. And please, just to add here that this is not the final list of all the cases which we categorize into horizontal, vertical, and repetition. It was just by the time when we were doing these drawings. So, and as you can see here, again, can you go back? Sorry. Yeah, and then you can see in, for example, the case from London has a very massive plan also on the ground, but it is extremely vertical. And from these drawings, you can see the urban configuration and the diversity of, can you go further? Yes, in the repetition again, further. Yes, so in repetition, as Luisa and Alessandra has already pointed out, that it is a mix of vertical and horizontal growth. So, and we spotted cases where we could see repetition in different forms. So it is not just the block that was repeated, but sometimes the characters were also repeated or vice versa. So this is something that we discussed a lot during the process, and that is one of the points that we have to take it forward somehow. Next slide, please. Some more examples. So you can see, just to point out, can you go back? Yeah. So for example, the case in the Netherlands, you can see it is a completely horizontal development in my perspective, or from the urban configuration that we see. But of course, it is also repetition. So this is a little bit tricky if we can call it only repetition, or whether we should categorize it also under horizontal development. So next slide, please. Yes, so just to go into a little bit of depth, I selected like 3 cases from each of the clusters, and then tried to produce a little bit more in-depth detailed drawings, and to see if we can use these urban configuration to analyze the urban setup of the area and the context. Next slide, please. So yes, so in this, you can see this was a case in Milan, and you can see where it is located on the city. So we used a small map, abstract map of the city. To mark the city center is the yellow portion, and the periphery is in the gray. And you can see the project was located on the periphery of the city. And then we had a figure ground map and the urban void map to see the contrast of how much urban space or the public space was around the development. And then the blue and green infrastructure and the main streets and the main transport connections. So these drawings are just to say that there is a lot of possibility of how and to what extent we want to compare the case studies. If can you please go to the next slide? Yeah. So for example, this was the case in Paris, which is extremely vertical development. And as you can see, even if the footprint is smaller, but we cannot see if it is much green area or not. But from the urban void point, you can see it is a massive development on the ground level as well. And it is in the city center. So, you know, it is, these drawings are just a method of saying that these are the aspects that we can look into when we look at the case studies. And it, of course, it depends upon how, to what extent we want to go, and how much time we have, how much budget we have to take this work forward. Next. Next. Yeah, so these are just of my key observation, which I've already kind of talked about. That, you know, we observed that throughout the case studies, there was a little bit of overlap between the categories, horizontal, vertical, and repetition. And that is something that we can consult to the researcher, or in the next phase of the work, we can try to dig deeper and find out how to really categorize them. Yeah, and it's as I said, it's just a tool. It's a toolkit to generate different perspectives and comparison criteria. So this is not like the final product. Next, please. Yes, and the future steps, or what was actually my intention in the beginning, was also to overlap with the urban policies of each country, at least to see in which time period this project was built, or what kind of urban development was going on, to overlap it with the historical timeline. So this is something that we all were really interested, at least Luisa and me were very much intending to do this in the next step. And I think if the GIS workshop also can add a layer to this, it will be great. So yes, thank you for this. This is my short discussion about my work.
Okay, sorry, this is just few notes in the end, but I forgot to, I wanted to translate in English and I didn't, but this is just a slide for us to remember what we wanted to do, in fact, as a last moment of reflections. One is the issue that, of course, we in the beginning we wanted to find more categories. For example, there were some issues that are very important, like the location of the case study, if it's close to the center, far from the center, or in the periphery. We wanted to visualize that in terms of comparison, and this is a pattern, a category that we didn't have the time to develop. And also there are important other issues, like the presence of axis urban pattern that can be also understood in terms of comparison, and many more other categories, like the relationship between voids and solids and other elements that we think that the diagram and other studies could, of course, be applied in order to understand even more the process. Then, of course, as another step forward, we also wanted to understand more in the future. So many of these examples are problematic, not only problematic because of the life, but sometimes it's the dimension itself of the massification, that is either the scale, or also the density, or the intense growth that really often creates some problematic, like a destabilization of the normal urban relationships, a lack of connections, a lack of understanding of the area. So in the transformation, we thought that it was possible also to understand more what kind of work could be suggested in terms of transformation and with small design ideas that are concepts in order to respond to the problems of the densification. This was also another level of the future, the future step. But certainly we think that there is even more of investigation in terms of categories that could be needed and useful for the atlas. Okay, that's our, I think it's, that's our presentation. I don't know if you have questions, or there could be a little discussion, or it's up to Ines. Tell us what you want to organize.
Alessandra, can you show the last one with our, because the short-term scientific mission is not just only working, so we want to show you some moment together.
Yes, there is a beautiful slide with all our photographs.
The last one, yes.
The last one.
Thanks.
Yes, thank you so much. And please, if Ines or anyone has questions, I think Alexandra's mic is mute, so I'm speaking on her behalf.
Hi, thank you so much for all. Alessandra, maybe you can stop sharing the screen, and like this we can see each other. So, first of all, thank you so much for this. Okay, thank you. It was, you have done, I already had an idea, but it was the first opportunity that I had, and sharing with the participants here in the GIS. And I think it was the best opportunity for doing it, because we start yesterday and just questioning, doing questions and try to arrive the parameters for analysis. So everything is completely cross between what you have done through a different tool, as you shown by the diagrams. Now we want to take care of your already work, of the work that you already have done, and import to the GIS. So we can cross both works. How the GIS works, it's we can export after the maps, not only about the diagrams, but in updating information. So we can use your work to put inside the GIS and look forward for different analyses. So after we have to talk, because or it's going to keep on this on the next STSM after the workshop, and how we can use your work. So I imagine that you start to do your analysis by the diagrams by Excel sheets, for instance, for the first. And if so, it's great. I'm seeing the sign of Luisa, and it's great because we can import that for the GIS, and also the redrawings that we had, because I can show you. Ilan, can you show you the questions to them? They are here in the plan. So we start yesterday, and we have already 5 points that we want to develop in the GIS, and it has directly relationship what you have done. Mainly, for instance, in the open and closed spaces, or the private and the public, and so on, so on. So the height. And the height and the volume is what we want to follow. Do you want to say something?
No, I'm just speaking with them.
So thank you, not only for your effort to be here today with us, because I know you are in the lunchtime, so I will try to be briefed on this. I don't know if you have any questions, anyone, to them? So we'll have more questions after this workshop. So wait for this. So we are just processing the information, and it's that I have to highlight again the work that you have done that is amazing. So if after this, I'm really and if you after this can share with us, because with this we can go forward with the work we had already done, and is the way that I think it's useful to join the STSMs to try to achieve new topics. So it's that. Thank you again.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Yes. And good luck with the workshop.
Yes, and we are pleasure after this sharing also with you the results that we had.
Yes.
Thank you. Let's go.
Okay. So have a good work and all the best there. I hope you also have a nice time. As the last slide we showed, we all had. All the best.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you so
Bye.
much. I stop recording. Recording. Stop.